Nira sat quietly in her hidden pod, just outside the human city. The pod was shaped like a small rock, covered in dust and grass. No one could tell it was not part of the land. She touched the control screen and checked her cloak. The hologram still worked. It gave her the shape and look of a human girl. With it, she could walk among them without fear. She had come from Solari, a planet far away. Her people were thinkers, watchers, and silent builders. They believed in calm and order. Emotions were seen as storms that broke balance. Humans were different, loud, messy, full of strange feelings. Her leaders wanted to know more. So they sent Nira, a quiet but curious soul. Her mission was simple. Observe. Do not speak too much. Do not feel. Do not connect. Just watch and report. But as the days passed, Nira found herself walking deeper into the city. She stopped looking at her data pad and started watching faces, children laughing in parks, old women feeding birds, people helping each other cross the street. None of these acts made sense by logic. Yet something about them felt warm. She found a place she liked most. A small workshop on the corner of a quiet road. It was filled with old machines and wires. Inside worked a human named Ravi. He fixed things, broken radios, washing machines, sometimes toys. He charged very little and sometimes nothing at all. People smiled when they left his shop. Ravi was different from others. He didn't speak much. He listened. He never shouted. He looked at broken things the way one looks at a puzzle, not with anger, but with care. Nira found herself coming near his shop every day. At first, she just sat on a bench nearby. Then, she started walking by slowly, pretending to look at the wall paintings. Ravi never noticed. Or maybe he did, but never said anything. One afternoon, the city was quiet and the air was cool. Nira stood under a tree, watching a child trying to fly a small drone. The drone fell and broke. The child started to cry. Ravi, who had been walking nearby with a toolbox, stopped and sat down beside the child. He took the broken drone, looked at it, then gave the child a soft smile. "Wait, here," he said. He walked back to the shop. A few minutes later, he returned with a small screw, a tool, and tape. He fixed the drone while sitting on the ground. When it flew again, the child clapped and hugged him. Ravi just smiled and walked away. Nira felt something shift inside her. Later, that day, as she walked back to her pod, her foot slipped on wet ground near an old power station. She fell and hit her side hard on a metal bar. Her cloak flickered. For a moment, her real form showed. Her skin was silver blue. Her eyes were large and light. Her arms thinner and longer than humans. Then the cloak turned back on. But someone had seen it. Ravi had been walking behind her, heading to check the power line damage. He ran to her without thinking. "Are you okay?" he asked. Nira looked up, eyes wide. She tried to stand, but her ankle hurt. The cloak flickered again. Ravi saw the glitch but said nothing. He gently helped her sit on a nearby bench. "I think you need help," he said, looking at her ankle. "Come with me. I'll fix this." Nira didn't speak. She could have run. She could have called her pod. But something about Ravi's calm voice stopped her. She nodded. He took her to his workshop. It was warm and smelled like old wires and oil. He gave her a soft chair and brought a first aid box. He wrapped her ankle carefully. "You're not from here, are you?" he asked after a pause. Nira looked down. "I travel," she said slowly. Ravi didn't ask more. He nodded and offered her a cup of warm tea. "Rest here. No one will bother you." Nira sat there, holding the cup, not drinking it. She watched him work. He fixed a broken wall clock while humming a soft tune. The sound was gentle, like wind, through trees. That night, Nira stayed in the corner of his shop. He gave her a blanket and didn't ask any questions. She couldn't understand this human. He saw something strange, something clearly not normal, and still helped without fear. Her people believed humans were dangerous. But Ravi didn't seem dangerous. He seemed kind, quiet, steady, safe. The next morning, she woke up before him. She looked at the small things in the workshop, tools in neat rows. A small radio playing soft music, a dusty photo of Ravi with an old man, probably his father. She turned to leave but paused at the door. Ravi opened one eye. "You can come back any time," he said. And Ira didn't answer. She just gave a small nod and left. Back in her pod, she turned on the recorder and began to speak. "This is Nira, day 12 on Earth. I have made contact, not by plan. A human helped me. No threat was shown, no questions asked, just quiet kindness. I will continue the study." She paused. Then she added, "Something is different about this human. I do not know what it is yet, but I will return." She ended the recording and sat in silence. Outside, the sun was rising. Inside her, something had started, something her people warned about feeling. The next day, Nira walked back to the small workshop. Her ankle still hurt a little, but she walked slowly. The morning sun was soft, and the street was quiet. A few birds flew over the rooftops. A shopkeeper waved at her, thinking she was just another traveler. She gave a small nod and kept walking. When she reached Ravi's shop, she stopped near the door. Inside, she saw him working on an old fan. His hands moved gently, his face calm. He didn't notice her at first. She watched him for a moment. Then he looked up and smiled. "You came back," he said. And Ira stepped inside. "I wanted to say thank you." Ravi placed the tool on the table and stood up. "You're welcome. How's your ankle?" "Better," she said, "still a little sore." He brought a chair for her. "Sit, no rush. You can rest as long as you need." Nira sat down. Her eyes moved around the room. There were shelves full of small boxes, each labeled with neat handwriting. Old radios, clocks, fans, and wires were everywhere, but everything was clean and well placed. "You fix all this by yourself?" she asked. Ravi nodded. "Yes, I like fixing broken things. It makes me feel calm." Nira looked at a small toy robot on the shelf. "Even that?" He smiled. "Again, a boy dropped it last week. I fixed it, and he gave me a drawing. It's hanging over there." She turned and saw the drawing. It was a stick figure of Ravi with a big smile, holding a wrench. Next to him was a small robot. "Children like you," she said. "I just fix their toys. That's all," he replied. But Nira knew it was more than that. People didn't love machines. They loved the heart behind the hands that fixed them. Ravi had that heart. She could see it in the way he looked at broken things, not with judgment, but with care. As the hours passed, Nira stayed in the shop. She didn't plan to. She just didn't feel like leaving. Ravi didn't ask many questions. He simply worked and talked now and then. He offered her tea again. This time, she accepted. "What's your name?" he asked after a while. Nira paused. She knew she couldn't tell her real name. "Not yet. My name is Nia," she said softly. He nodded. "Nice to meet you, Nia. I'm Ravi." She smiled gently. "I know." He raised an eyebrow. "How?" "I heard someone call you yesterday," she replied quickly. He accepted the answer and went back to fixing a clock. Nira relaxed. In the evening, the sky turned orange and pink. People started going home. Ravi stood up and turned off the lights. "I'm going to the rooftop," he said. "You can join me if you like. The sky looks nice today." Nira followed him up a small ladder. The rooftop was flat and empty, except for a bench made from old wood. Ravi sat down and looked at the sky. Nira sat beside him. "Do you come here often?" she asked. "Every evening, if I can," he said. "It's quiet. I like the stars." She looked up. The stars were slowly appearing. A soft wind moved through the air. It was peaceful. "Where are you from, Nia?" Ravi asked gently. Nira thought. For a moment, far from here, a small place, not many people, just peace and learning. "That sounds nice," he said. "I'd like to see it one day." She looked at him. His face was lit by soft light from the setting sun. There was no pressure in his voice, just honesty. "What about you?" she asked. "Were you born here?" "Yes," he said. "My father ran this shop. I learned everything from him. He passed away a few years ago. I'm sorry, she said. Ravi nodded. He was a good man. He taught me how to fix machines and how to stay calm, he said. Everything broken can be fixed. If not with hands, then with heart. Nira looked at him. That's a beautiful thought. They sat in silence for a while. The stars grew brighter. Somewhere, a dog barked in the distance. Ravi turned to her. You're different, he said quietly. You speak in a way that feels careful. Not afraid, just new. Nira felt. Her heart beat faster. She didn't know what to say. I observe more than I speak, she said. I noticed, he said with a small smile. She looked at the stars. Do you think people can change? Yes, he said at once, every day. Even if they come from far away. Distance doesn't matter, he said. What matters is what's inside. That's the part that changes, and also the part that stays. Nira closed her eyes for a moment. Her people had said humans were too emotional, too unpredictable. But this human was steady, quiet, like a river that never shouted but kept flowing. Later, they climbed down. Ravi brought a small cushion for her ankle. You can stay here again tonight, if you like, he said. Why are you being so kind? She asked. He looked at her, then said, because someone helped me once when I had nothing. I'm just passing it forward. She nodded as he turned off the lights and locked the door. Nira sat in the small room beside the tools. She looked at the teacup, the broken fan, the child's drawing. She was not here to stay. She was here to observe. But her heart was no longer cold. It was warming slowly, like metal near fire. In her pod later that night, she spoke into the recorder again. This is Nira, day 13 on Earth. I have learned something new. Some humans do not ask who you are. They simply help. Not for reward. Not for answers. Just because they choose to. She paused. I will return to the shop tomorrow. I feel that I must. She ended the recording and sat in silence once more. Above her, the stars watched. Below her, the city rested. And inside her, something unknown was beginning. Nira woke up early. The sky outside was still dark. A soft wind moved through the trees. She sat on the small chair in Ravi's shop, listening to the ticking of a wall clock. The sound was slow and steady. It reminded her of the peaceful rhythm of this strange world. She looked around the room. Tools were placed neatly on shelves. Wires and parts were stored in small boxes. On the table beside her was a toy robot Ravi had fixed for a child. The robot's light blinked softly. It was small, but it brought joy. That was something she didn't understand before. Ravi entered the room, holding 2 cups of tea. He gave one to her and sat down across the table. Couldn't sleep? He asked. Too many thoughts. Nira said, Same here, Ravi replied. With a small smile, they drank their tea in silence. The shop was warm. The rain from last night had stopped, but the ground was still wet outside. The streets were empty. Only the sound of birds could be heard. You fix more than machines, Nira said softly. Ravi looked at her. What do you mean? You fix people too. You listen. You help. Ravi didn't speak right away. He looked at the window, then back at her. I don't think I fix people, he said. I just do what I can. Nira nodded. She looked down at her hands. They were still covered by her human cloak. Her real skin, smooth and pale blue, was hidden. Her true eyes, larger and brighter than any human, were also hidden. She had come to Earth to study, to watch, to learn. But now she was part of it, and every day it became harder to pretend. Later that morning, a boy entered the shop with a broken radio. Ravi welcomed him with a smile. Dropped it again? Ravi asked. The boy laughed. I think it jumped off the table on its own. Nira smiled. 2. Ravi opened the radio and showed Nira the inside. This wire's loose, he explained. Can you fix it? Nira took the small tool and carefully pressed the wire back into place. The radio turned on, playing a soft tune. The boy clapped. That was fast, he said. She's learning quickly, Ravi replied. The boy thanked them and left. Nira looked at Ravi. You didn't need to let me fix it, Ravi shrugged. You were ready. That afternoon, Mira came to visit. She brought an old camera and placed it on the counter. "Can you save this one too?" she asked. Ravi opened the camera and began checking it. Mira looked at Nira, who was cleaning a set of screws. "You're still here," Mira said. Double quotes, "Yes." Nira answered, "You don't talk much. I talk when needed." Mira tilted her head. "Where are you from?" Nira paused. "Far away." Ravi looked up. "She's a traveler." Mira nodded slowly. "Do travelers hide what they are?" Ravi didn't reply. Nira stayed quiet. Mira smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. After she left, Ravi continued working on the camera. Nira stood nearby. "She doesn't trust me," Nira said. "She's careful," Ravi replied. "But she's not unkind." Nira sat down. "What if she finds out who I really am?" Ravi put down his tool and looked at her. "I already know you're not from here," he said. Gently, Nira froze. "You do," she whispered. "You say strange words. You fix things without learning. Your eyes sometimes change when you forget to blink." Nira looked away. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because you were kind. Because you needed help. Because I saw no danger." She looked back at him. His face was calm, honest, steady. "I was sent to observe." She said, "My people believe humans are dangerous. And what do you believe?" "I'm not sure anymore," Nira replied. "I see care. I see laughter. I see people helping each other." "It's not what I was told." Ravi smiled. "We are not perfect, but we are not what others think either." That evening, the sky turned gold. The sun set slowly behind the buildings. Nira sat outside the shop, watching people walk by. A girl gave her a flower. A man shared a joke with his friend. A child sang while skipping stones. She closed her eyes and listened. In her mind, she remembered her home planet clean, silent, full of rules. No one laughed, no one cried. Everyone followed orders. But here, life was messy, loud, strange, and beautiful. She opened her eyes and looked at the flower in her hand. Its petals were soft, its color bright. Something inside her chest felt warm. Later that night, she recorded a message on her small hidden device. "This is Nira, Day 17 on Earth. I have made contact. I was supposed to watch, but I have become part of the life here. The human named Ravi has shown kindness without asking for anything. He trusts without knowing the full truth. I cannot understand this, but I feel it deeply." She paused. "I was told not to feel, but I cannot stop it." She ended the recording and placed the device back in her coat. Ravi walked in with 2 small plates of food. He gave one to her and sat beside her. "You seem quiet tonight," he said. "I'm thinking about home," she replied. "Do you miss it?" "I thought I would, but now I'm not sure." They ate in silence outside. The wind moved the leaves on the street. A soft song played from the old radio. Ravi looked at her. "You can stay as long as you want." Nira didn't answer. She just nodded slowly. Her mission was changing. The lie she had lived under was breaking, little by little. But in that breaking, something new was growing, something real. The sky over the city changed color by afternoon. Clouds gathered above like a giant gray blanket. The air became heavy, and the wind grew stronger. Nira stood near the window of Ravi's workshop and watched leaves fly through the street. She had read about storms in her report files, but she had never seen one with her own eyes. Ravi came in from the back door, holding a bag of tools. His shirt was dusty, and his hands were covered in grease. "The sky doesn't look good," he said. "Is it dangerous?" Nira asked. "Not if we stay inside," Ravi replied. "But I need to check a few buildings before the rain starts. Some power lines are loose." "I will come with you," Nira said. Ravi looked at her. "You should rest. Your ankle is not fully healed. It's better now, and maybe I can help." Ravi didn't argue. He nodded and handed her a small toolkit. Together, they walked through the quiet streets. Most shops had already closed. People rushed toward their homes. Some stopped to warn Ravi about the coming rain. They all seemed to know him. At the first house, Ravi helped fix a wire box outside the door. Nira held the light while he worked. At the second place, an old man had trouble with his water pipe. Ravi fixed that too, even though it wasn't electrical. Nira watched him closely. He didn't do these things for money or thanks. He did them because someone needed help. As they reached a small shop near the corner, the wind picked up. A loud crack echoed through the air. Then the first raindrop fell, followed by many more. It's starting, Ravi said. Let's head back. They ran toward the workshop, holding their tools close. The rain fell hard, like stones on the road. Water ran down the streets like small rivers. When they reached the shop, they were both soaked. Ravi quickly closed the windows and lit a small emergency lamp. The power went out a few minutes. Later, we should stay here tonight, he said. It's safer. Nira nodded and placed the wet tool kit near the door. She helped Ravi light a few candles and gather blankets. The rain outside got louder. Thunder rolled across the sky like a heavy drum. Nira sat near the wall and watched the candle flicker. The flame danced with the wind coming through a small crack in the window. It's strange, she said. What is this storm? It feels alive. Ravi smiled. Storms show nature's strength. But they also pass. No storm lasts forever. The room stayed quiet for a while. Then a knock came at the door. It was Mira. She was wet and shivering. Ravi pulled her inside and gave her a towel. My apartment is flooding, she said. The water came in through the back wall. You can stay here, Ravi said. We have space. Mira nodded, still breathing heavily. She sat near the heater, which was now powered by a backup battery. She looked at Nira. Her eyes were tired, but her voice was clear. You stayed, she said. Yes, Nira replied, even in a storm. Nira said nothing. She only looked at the window. After a while, Ravi made warm tea for all three. They sat close to the heater, listening to the rain hit the roof. The light from the candle made soft shadows on the wall. Mira took a sip of tea and turned to Ravi. You always help everyone, she said. But who helps you? Ravi smiled a little. I have a quiet life. That's enough. Mira looked at Nira again. I didn't trust you before, she said. But now I see. You're not here to hurt anyone. Nira nodded slowly. I'm learning, she said. This world is very different from mine. Mira raised her eyebrows slightly but didn't ask more. Maybe she already knew. Maybe she didn't need to know everything. The night moved slowly. The storm outside got stronger. But inside the workshop, it was calm. Nira watched Ravi fix a small fan. Even though there was no power to run it, she watched the way his hands moved, steady and sure. She felt something she couldn't explain. A connection. Not just to him, but to this place, this world, this way of living. Later, when Mira was asleep under a blanket in the corner, Ravi and Nira sat near the shelves, speaking. Softly, you don't talk much about yourself, Ravi said. I'm not allowed to. Who says so? My people. My world. We believe in control. Emotion is seen as weakness. Ravi looked at her. But you still feel, don't you? Yes, more than I thought I would. He leaned back against the wall. Feelings are not weakness, he said. They're part of life. Nira looked at him, her eyes calm and deep. I was sent here to observe, to study humans, to report on their ways. But now, I'm not sure I can finish the report. Ravi didn't look surprised. I guess something like that, he said. You're not afraid, no. Ravi replied. I've seen enough to trust you. Nira looked down at her hands. The human form she wore felt heavier now, not because of the cloak, but because of the truth she was hiding. Yet in this small space, with a kind human beside her and the storm outside, she felt safe, truly safe. She closed her eyes and listened to the sound of the rain. It no longer felt cold or strange. It felt like a song, a soft reminder that even storms can be beautiful. Morning arrived slowly. The rain had stopped sometime before sunrise. A soft light entered through the window of the workshop. The streets were still wet. Puddles reflected the sky, now painted in soft blue and white. Ravi opened the door and looked outside. The air was cool and fresh. Trees had dropped many leaves. A few signs on the road had fallen. But the worst had passed. He smiled quietly and turned back inside. Nira was already awake, sitting near the small heater. Her eyes were focused on the candle, which had burned through the night. Mira was still sleeping under the blanket, her breathing soft and steady. The storm is over, Ravi said. Nira stood and walked to the door. She looked out and saw children playing in the water puddles. A dog ran past them, barking happily. It looks peaceful now, she said. Ravi nodded. It always does, after a storm. They stepped outside. The sun was climbing slowly. Light touched every broken thing and made it look beautiful. Even the fallen tree branches seemed full of life. Ravi helped a few neighbors clear the water from their houses. Nira joined him, carrying buckets and wiping floors. She didn't speak much, but her actions were enough. The people began to smile when they saw her. They no longer looked at her with questions or fear. Mira came out later and brought food for everyone. She gave a warm smile to Nira. You worked hard, she said. Nira replied. So did you? As the day moved forward, the workshop became a center of activity. A few young boys brought broken flashlights. Ravi helped fix them. One woman needed help charging her phone. Nira connected the battery system Ravi had built, and the woman's eyes lit up with thanks. Everything felt simple, but everything felt new to Nira. She was not used to helping others without being told. On her world, tasks were given, and roles were fixed. Emotions were private, not shared. But here, people worked together. They spoke kindly, even when tired. They smiled without reason. Nira felt something open inside her. In the afternoon, Ravi sat under a tree near the shop. Nira joined him, holding two cups of tea. She handed one to him and sat down. You know, she said, I came here to study human behavior, to collect data. Ravi looked at her, calm as always, and I think I understand now. Not everything, but something very deep. Ravi took a sip of tea. What is it? That humans are not just logical. They don't follow clear patterns, but they care, and that care changes things. Ravi looked at the sky. We do care, he said, even when it's hard. Nira looked at him for a moment, then said, I sent a message to my ship. I asked for more time. Did they agree? I don't know yet, but I had to try. She paused. I also told them something else. What? I said I am learning, more by feeling than I ever could by observing. Ravi smiled. Maybe that's what they don't teach in space. Nira smiled too. It was small, but real. Later that evening, Nira helped clean the tools inside the workshop. She looked at each item carefully. The hammer, the wrench, the old radio Ravi was fixing. Every item had a purpose. Every item had a story. When she finished, she found Ravi drawing something on paper. It was a small design for a better backup light system. Nira sat beside him. Can I help? He gave her a pencil. Let's build something better. As they worked side by side, Mira watched from a distance. She didn't say anything, but her eyes were full of thoughts. She saw something growing between them, a quiet bond. Not spoken but understood. The night came slowly. The stars returned to the sky. They looked brighter after the storm. Nira sat on the roof for a while, her eyes on the stars. She saw her home planet in the distance. It was far away, quiet, and cold. But here, everything was warm. Even the silence felt full of life. Ravi joined her on the roof. You miss your world? He asked. Yes, she said softly. But I think I would miss this more. Ravi didn't answer. He just sat beside her, looking at the same stars. After a while, Nira said, Do you believe in connection? Not just between people, but between souls? Ravi thought for a moment. I believe that when someone touches your heart, you never forget it, even if they leave. Nira looked at him. His words felt simple, but they were true. She placed her hand on the roof beside his. Not touching, just close. I think you've touched mine, she said. The wind passed softly through the night. They sat together, watching the sky, saying nothing more. And in that silence, something strong was born. not of words but of trust in something deeper than both. 3 days had passed since the storm. The village was slowly coming back to normal. The sun now shone brightly every morning, and people had returned to their daily routines. Children laughed in the streets again. Birds sang in the trees. The air felt lighter. Inside the small workshop, Ravi was fixing a bicycle for one of the village boys. The chain had rusted. Neera stood beside him, watching every step carefully. She had started learning how to use tools. She could now hold a screwdriver without needing to ask which side to turn. It made her feel proud. Mira brought them tea as always. She placed the cups on a small table and sat beside Neera. "You've changed," Mira said softly. Neera turned to her. "How? You smile more. And it's not the same kind of smile as before. It feels warmer now." Neera looked down at her hands. "I never knew what a warm smile was before. But now I think I do." Mira nodded and stood up. "Then you're truly learning what it means to live here." Later in the day, Ravi suggested they visit the river. It was not far from the village and very peaceful. Neera agreed without thinking. She liked the idea of going somewhere quiet, somewhere without machines or screens, just water, wind, and sky. They walked together through the fields. The tall grass brushed against their legs. The scent of wildflowers filled the air. Neera looked at the sky often. She had never noticed how many shapes the clouds could take. One looked like a bird, another like a boat. When they reached the river, Ravi sat on a flat rock near the water. Neera sat beside him. The river flowed gently, its surface sparkling in the sunlight. Small fish swam near the edges. A few birds flew overhead, dipping their wings in the water. "It's beautiful," Neera whispered. "It always calms me," Ravi said. They sat there in silence for some time. No words were needed. The sound of flowing water filled the space between them. After a while, Neera asked a question. "Were you always this calm?" Ravi smiled a little. "Not always. When I was young, I was angry at many things. I wanted to change the world fast. But then I realized change doesn't come from noise. It comes from care, from patience." Neera nodded slowly. "I think I'm learning that too." A soft breeze passed over them. A few leaves floated down from a tree. Neera caught one in her hand and studied its shape. "Back on my planet, everything is controlled. The sky, the rain, even the colors of our buildings. We do not allow randomness." "And do you miss it?" "Not like I thought I would." They stayed by the river until the sun began to fall. The sky turned golden. Birds returned to their nests. A peaceful silence settled over the world. As they walked back to the village, Neera spoke again. "Sometimes I wonder why I came to Earth. At first, it was just a mission, a task given to me. But now, it feels like something more." Ravi looked at her but said nothing. "Meeting you, meeting Mira, helping during the storm, learning to build and fix things. I think this is what living really means." Ravi smiled. Gently, "You found meaning." Neera looked up at him. "Or maybe meaning found me." That night, Neera stood on the roof again. The stars were bright. She could see her home planet. Small and distant, it no longer made her feel lonely. It simply reminded her of where she came from. Ravi joined her with 2 cups of tea. "You like this place," he said. "I do. You've changed. I hope for the better." Ravi handed her the tea. "Much better." She held the warm cup and looked at him. "Can I ask you something? Anything? Why did you help me from the very start? Even when I looked lost and strange." Ravi took a slow breath. "Because I saw something in you. Not weakness, not danger, just someone trying to understand." Neera's eyes softened. "And because," he continued, "sometimes helping someone else helps us see our own heart more clearly." They stood there, under the stars, the soft wind moving through their hair. "Do you think hearts can connect, even when they come from different worlds?" she asked. "Yes," Ravi answered. "I think the heart doesn't care about planets or skin or language. It just knows when it's found something true." Neera looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. Not a polite smile, not a trained smile, a real one, full of warmth and quiet happiness, the kind of smile that comes from the heart. Ravi smiled back. The next morning, something unexpected happened. A message came from Nira's mothership. It was short, mission complete, return requested. Departure into days? Nira stared at the screen. Her hands felt cold. Ravi saw the message too. His face stayed calm, but his eyes grew distant. You don't have to decide now, he said softly. Nira nodded. I know, for the rest of the day. She didn't speak much. She helped in the workshop. She cleaned the tools. She shared tea with Mira. But inside, her thoughts were full. Later that evening, she walked to the river alone. She sat on the same rock. She watched the water. She touched the leaf she had saved in her pocket. Then she closed her eyes and listened. And her heart whispered the answer she had not been ready to hear before. The sun rose gently, painting the sky with soft orange light. Birds began their morning songs, and the village slowly came to life. Inside the small workshop, Nira stood quietly near the window, watching the golden rays fall over the rooftops. Her bag was packed. The message from her world still echoed in her mind. Return requested. Departure into days. Today was the second day. She had one choice to make, stay or leave. Ravi entered the room with 2 cups of tea. He handed one to Nira and sat down near the table. The warmth of the tea spread through their hands, but their hearts were heavy. Ravi finally spoke. Have you decided? Nira took a deep breath. I'm close, but not fully. Ravi nodded. Then let the day guide you. Mira entered the workshop shortly after. She brought fresh bread from her home. The 3 of them ate together in silence. The food was simple, but the moment felt special. Later that morning, Nira walked through the village one last time. She visited the market, where the fruit seller gave her a free apple. She walked past the school, where children waved at her and smiled. She passed the old temple, where people placed flowers at the steps. Each place held a memory now. Each face had become a part of her. At the end of the road, she saw an old woman sitting under a tree. Nira had helped her weeks ago by repairing her broken lamp. The woman called out, You are leaving, aren't you? Nira paused. Maybe. The woman looked at her and said, If a flower blooms in a new garden, it should stay where it blossoms. Nira smiled. Thank you. She walked back toward the workshop slowly, her thoughts full of voices and faces. Every step brought her closer to the final choice. Back at the workshop, Ravi was working on a small music box. It was broken long ago, but he believed it could still be fixed. Nira sat beside him and watched as he gently turned the gears. Why do you fix something, even when it looks useless? She asked. Because nothing is truly useless, he replied. Sometimes all it needs is time and care. The music box clicked. Then, to Nira's surprise, it began to play. A soft, slow melody filled the room. It was sweet and gentle, like the voice of a memory. Nira closed her eyes. She remembered her first day on Earth. The fear, the confusion, the feeling of being alone. She remembered the storm, the panic in the streets, the fear in people's eyes. But she also remembered Ravi's calm voice, Mira's kindness, the warmth of tea, the joy of learning to fix something, the laughter of children, the silence of the river, the stars above her, the leaf in her pocket. She opened her eyes and looked at Ravi. I think I know my answer. Ravi stopped turning the gear. He looked at her. I want to stay, she said. His eyes did not change, but his hands relaxed. This world has given me more than just knowledge. It gave me a heart. I was sent here to observe, but I became a part of it. I don't want to forget that. Ravi nodded. Then tell your world. Nira took out the small device from her pocket. It glowed faintly. One final press would send her answer. She pressed it. The glow turned blue. Her message was sent. A few seconds later, a reply came. Understood. Departure canceled. Contact closed. That was it. Short, clear, final. Nira set the device aside. Her choice had been made. That evening, the sky was full of stars. The village celebrated a local festival. Lights hung from trees. Music played in the streets. People danced and shared sweets. Nira walked through the crowd with Mira and Ravi. She wore a simple scarf over her shoulders, a gift from one of the village elders. A small girl ran up to her and gave her a flower. "You're one of us now," she said with a smile. Nira knelt and hugged the girl. "Yes, I am." Later, Ravi and Nira sat near the river again. The sky reflected in the water. Fireflies danced in the air. "You're not just a visitor anymore," Ravi said. "You're family." Nira looked at him. "You once told me the heart doesn't care about planets. I think mine agrees." He smiled. "I may never return to where I came from," Nira said. "But I don't feel lost." Ravi reached into his bag and took out a small gift. It was the music box, repaired, painted, a tiny star drawn on its side. She took it gently. "Thank you." As she opened the box, the same soft melody played again. But this time, it wasn't just a sound. It was a promise that no matter where she came from, she had found her place. She had found her people. She had found herself. And that was enough.